And then there were three: the Gumball, the Clock, and the Goldfish. It's the Masked Singer Season 11 semifinals. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my recap and reaction video for the Masked Singer semifinals for Season 11. There's three contestants left, and one will get their mask removed, and two will advance to next week's finals. And as of right now, I actually don't know who got the boot. That is, I think we know already who's under all these masks. So that's not going to be as surprising, I think, as who is getting voted off. So I've paused it right before Nick tells us who's getting voted off. So I'm going to react to that today. And, you know, we'll see. Is it going to be the Gumball, Clock, or the Goldfish? I have my thoughts for sure. But before we launch into my review and my recap of this episode, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do these Masked Singer videos every single week here on the channel, that there is a new episode. And so next week will be the last one for a while, but I've got a ton of other stuff on the channel as well. It's not just Masked Singer content. So a lot of movie reviews, TV reviews, and just about every day I try to post something new. So there's always a lot going on here on Dan Reviews It. So please consider subscribing, hit that like button, and comment below. And your comments, of course, on the Masked Singer video specifically are very helpful in determining who could be under these masks, and certainly none of these three were my initial guess. You all have set me in a certain direction and put together some clues that I hadn't thought of, with people in some cases I had not thought of either. So, all right, all three come out in the beginning to sing "Higher Love" by Steve Winwood, and singing great, of course, and then Nick introduces, or reintroduces, I should say, the Amazon Prime button. There's a big blue button now on the panel's desk, and once per episode in these last couple of weeks, they can push it to get one extra clue for whoever they'd like. Last week they pushed it for the Gumball. This week they pushed it for the Clock. All right, so Gumball was up first. He says, I've loved singing from the start. Music was my first love, but I had to give it up when I moved to Hollywood to be taken more seriously. Hollywood is a bit like a gumball machine. You put your quarter in, and Hollywood takes a piece of you. But Masked Singer is me taking my quarter back. And my ears perked up at the word quarterback. Robin mentioned that as well. Oh, quarterback could be football. And he says, I want my kids to see that I never said no to an adventure. And the song he sings is I Lived by One Republic. And it's so interesting because I'm so far behind always on my TV shows. But I just watched the finale episode of Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, a show that should have been going for 4 or 5 years, but they canceled it after 2. But anyway, I watched the finale of that, and they sing I Lived by One Republic in that. Peter Gallagher sings it. So I thought that was pretty cool to hear that song twice. I probably haven't heard that song in like 5 years, but they did it twice here in a couple of days. So the super clue, each one after they sing gets a super clue. So that is supposed to be the most obvious clue that we've gotten yet. And I think, really, in all instances, I think that's probably correct. But the super clue here were these cheerleaders coming out, and Gumball says, hearing these cheers reminds me of a role that changed my life forever. So Robin sticking with his guess there for James Vanderbeek. He had mentioned that before. Jenny thought it could be Jason Sudeikis based on that because, of course, football, Ted Lasso is soccer to us, but football is what they call soccer around the world. But are there cheerleaders in soccer? I'm not sure. So I don't know if I love that guess. And then Rita, finally we had somebody talking about Friday Night Lights, which is a great show. She went with the wrong person. It's This Is Us all over again. Last week we revealed that the poodle moth was Kate from This Is Us, but the guest previously from Jenny was Mandy Moore, who was also on This Is Us, but no, in fact, it was Chrissy Metz who played Kate. And so here, we're on the right track, I think, with Friday Night Lights. Taylor Kitsch is a decent guess, but you guys steered me in this direction weeks ago. Scott Porter is who I think is under the Gumball. And honestly, after tonight's performances, I think Gumball could win. I think have we had an actor winning yet? I mean, Wayne Brady But I think he's more of at this point a game show host, and obviously he does great improv and comedy stuff with Whose Line Is It Anyway. But that's not necessarily acting, because you're making it up on the spot, so there's no script. So I'm not sure that I would consider Wayne Brady an actor as such. But everybody else I'm thinking of that has won this show is a singer. You let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing somebody, but I'm trying to go back in my mind and think about everybody that's won, like Nick Lachey and Leanne Rimes, I think won, and didn't Jewel win? Like they're all singers, so it would be pretty crazy if Scott Porter won, if that's who this is. All right, so the clock was next. She said, "I'm not as young as I used to be, but Mama's still got it. I had terrible stage fright when I was young, so bad that my knees would knock together under my gospel robe." So this is somebody who has come from the world of gospel. I don't think that's a real surprise here. "My mask takes away my ability to connect with the audience through my eyes and my smile, the way I would get over my stage fright. So I have to connect through my moves." And she said it's not easy to move in her outfit. It's not made for that, but she's got to do that so she can connect with the audience. And she says, "I want to introduce myself to a whole new generation with my music." And she's saying "Dancing in the Streets," great 60s, I think Motown tune, covered many, many times. But her version, of course, goes more to that 60s sound. And her super clue were some gold bars. And she said, "This isn't the first show I've done. I've definitely had some solid gold performances." Of course, that was a classic show in the 70s and 80s that was all about disco music, R&B of the time, all that. It was basically like American Bandstand, but, hip, and the black version, essentially. And so... look, anybody from that era has performed on Solid Gold, though. So is that much of a clue? I don't know. Jenny, though, had somebody, her guess is somebody that actually co-hosted Solid Gold a few times, so could be. But they hit the extra clue button for that, and we saw roller skates at that point. And so they all connected the roller skates to their guesses. Robin's guess was Stephanie Mills. And so once he saw the roller skates, he said, "Oh, in The Wiz, Stephanie Mills did wear roller skates at one point." Wiz is, the black version, basically, of Wizard of Oz, and there was a movie version with Michael Jackson and Diana Ross, but it was on Broadway as well. I think it was on Broadway first, and then they made a movie. I'm not sure, but in any event, Stephanie Mills, I guess, was in The Wiz, and he had mentioned that as well in his original guess, because he said the solid gold bars could be also for the Yellow Brick Road in The Wiz. And then Jenny said Roberta Flack has hosted Solid Gold a couple of times. Roller skates. She obviously is a skate park queen. What do you roller rink? You call it back in the day, I guess. And so she said, okay, that would go for her as well. And then Thelma Houston was Rita's guess. Now, did they guess her last week? Let me look. I think they did, right? Stephanie Mills, yeah. Somebody from Sister Sledge or Shirley Bassey. Okay. So I feel like, though, all right, now I got to go back and look. I feel like at one point the clock, somebody did make a Thelma Houston clock guess. Let's see. Diana Ross, Denise Williams, Debbie Allen. Maybe not. Maybe we've just been talking about Thelma Houston all of this time. Wow. Okay. Well, that's a little surprising for me. But let's see. Anita Baker, Evelyn Champagne King, Diana Ross again, Janet Jackson from Ken Horrible, Debbie Allen. Okay. So this actually is the first time that we've heard Thelma Houston. Okay. So I thought maybe we had heard that before because I've been talking about it so much. You guys led me on that path. And my good buddy Paul, who watches this show, commented last week that she has, in fact, sang for the Pope. She had a sort of a power group in the 90s called the Sisters of Mercy. CeCe Peniston was part of that, and they did sing for the Pope. So that could certainly apply here. I think this is Thelma Houston. And a little spoiler for my guess later, I think the clock is probably the one getting unmasked tonight. But we don't know yet, so let's move on to the goldfish. She said, "Fame was never my goal. I actually thought I'd be a pediatrician when I was young. But I decided to go for it, and I had to live in a fishbowl for my fame. And I became more private. Being on The Masked Singer has allowed me to cut loose and show a side of myself that few get to see. And she talks about how she once wore a prom dress to an awards show. So, a costume like this is nothing. And she sings You Ought to Know by Alanis, obviously a classic. She had to change one of the lyrics. They did not want to say go down in a theater. So she changed it to make out with you in a theater. All right. It's a family show. And her super clue was the mouse coming out. And earlier, I guess it was this season, right? In like the preview special, they had the mouse and Demi Lovato was underneath it. It wasn't like a competition, but they had the panel trying to guess anyway, whatever. So the mouse, Demi Lovato. But in addition to Demi Lovato, of course, we know the mouse could mean Mickey Mouse as well. And she said, me and the mouse go way back. So is that Demi herself or is that Disney? Is that Mickey Mouse? So the guesses from the panel here, a couple of High School Musical people, Vanessa Hudgens and Ashley Tisdale. And Vanessa Hudgens, I think was guest last week, right? Let's see, the Goldfish. No, Nicole Scherzinger, Hilary Duff, and Julianne Hough. So wow. So is somebody feeding Rita these good guesses? Because so far these are right on target here. She was at least close with Friday Night Lights. She guessed Taylor Kitsch. Okay, so it looks like looking back, Hilary Duff, Lucy Hale, Leah Michelle, Selena Gomez, Carly Rae Jepsen, Sarah Hyland, Kristen Stewart, and Nina Dobrev. So I guess no one has guessed Vanessa Hudgens yet either, or Ashley Tisdale for that matter. Well, I think this is Vanessa Hudgens. You guys got me on that trail. This is somebody who I just was not at all thinking of the first performance. She was not on my radar. I was not a High School Musical kind of guy. I mean, I saw the first one, but that was it. It's not like I think about it. So I just didn't think of that. And Vanessa Hudgens, I guess if she wins as well, you could say she's an actress, certainly. But I think her most memorable roles have been in musicals. So I think she is definitely more known as a singer than whoever is the gumball, whether it's Scott Porter or Taylor Kitsch or whoever. I think they're not known as a professional singer. Whereas Vanessa Hudgens, sure, she's an actress, but I think, her best known roles have her singing for sure. So those were guesses. Selena Gomez was said again, and then Hilary Duff was said again. Robin's been on Hilary Duff really since the beginning. Once Robin gets something in his head, he's just, this is this person for sure. And he's typically wrong. Charlie Wilson was right this season, but typically he's wrong. All right, so then the three came out and sang together. They did A Moment Like This in the triple Battle Royale. So they didn't sing it together like Higher Love. They sang each individually in their specific styles. And I will say, they all did very well. The clock was good, but Gumball was like phenomenal. And then Goldfish was pretty good as well. Definitely a little bit behind the Gumball for me. And her You Ought to Know actually started out a little bit, I don't know, a little more average, I guess. It's a song that builds, and so you have to get to that build part. And she did it once she got there. It was like, oh my God, okay, now this is a key performance to get this person into the finals. But when it started, I was like, wow, is the clock gonna best the Goldfish here? And no, when it comes down to it, I don't think so. But who knows? We're gonna see now who is getting the boot. I believe that the person going home, and that is who Nick's going to announce. I believe the person going home and being unmasked is the clock. It's pretty amazing for one of our elders to get this far, let's say. The clock. Yeah, okay. I thought so. She was great. She was great, obviously, but the Gumball and Goldfish, man, they were just on fire tonight. I mean, the Gumball, I really... there's been a few fans in my comments about Gumball and, he should win it all. And I don't know. I was not quite on that train. I think he definitely deserves a spot. Well, first of all, I'm still a little hurt that the Beats went home a couple of weeks ago. They should have been in the final, like, hands down. The final should be, or the final three at least, should have been Gumball, Beats, and probably Goldfish. So, not the clock doesn't deserve to be there too. I am glad that one of our elder stateswomen in music made it this far, because usually they don't. But it's it's definitely disappointing to see the Beats go. But after tonight's performances, I do think Gumball is probably going to win next week. If I had to, make my guess now, on this video, I would say based on the performances so far and the story, everybody loves the story. He's talked about how his wife, is ill. I think the Gumball could win this whole thing. Well, and if I'm a betting man, I would say Gumball will win the whole thing. But that is next week. First, we have to unmask the clock. So I'm gonna check out their guesses, and then we will see who is under the mask. Well, the panel stuck to their guesses from either earlier in this episode or in previous episodes. So Robin went with Stephanie Mills, and there's another one. He's been, just like Hillary Duff, he's been on Stephanie Mills for a few weeks, so he's sticking with that. And look, he's connected the clues pretty well, to be honest. And all of these people mentioned have gold records, so the gold bars work for that. I think they've all probably performed on solid gold at some point, so it comes down to some of these other clues. So Jenny stuck with what she said earlier, Roberta Flack. Ken went back to one of the worst guesses he's had, certainly this season, but in a while. And I mean, it seemed like a joke guess weeks ago when he said it, but he is sticking to Janet Jackson for the clock. I mean, what a horrible guess. Even Nick was like, sit your ass down, Ken, because it's not happening. And then Rita stuck with who she said earlier, Thelma Houston. I believe this is Thelma Houston. My initial guess on this one, I'm trying to remember. Let's see. I don't know who I said originally. It's not ringing any bells with me. I'm not sure if I went with anybody that the panel said. I knew it wasn't Anita Baker. The voice was not matching up for me. So I don't know. But anyway, after that first week or two, you guys convinced me that it was Thelma Houston. So that makes sense to me at this point. And so I believe this is Thelma Houston under clock. Let's take a look and see. I'm not sure if I will recognize her. Oh, it is. It's Thelma Houston. Okay. Grammy Award winning musician. Don't Leave Me This Way is really the only song I know from Thelma Houston. I mean, it's a huge hit. I think it was a #1. She won a Grammy for it. But to me, she's kind of a one-hit wonder, but obviously I didn't grow up in the 70s. I was born in the late 70s, but I'm sure she had a lot of like disco hits, R&B hits in that era, but yeah, everybody's been nice. That's good. It's pretty wild. There's only so many of these, disco divas and icons, 60s and 70s R&B divas that we have not had on yet. Maybe Roberta Flack will be next season. I don't know, but you came on this show to introduce yourself to a new generation, but I think we already know you. Oh, thank you. All right. Well, look, I Nick says, "Oh, I think we all already know you." I know the name, but to be honest, right, other than "Don't Leave Me This Way," I don't know any of her music. So, maybe I'll check out some of her stuff later. But we're running out of sort of disco queens and 60s, 70s divas. I don't think Diana Ross would ever do this show. I do think her daughter, Tracy Ellis Ross, would do the show. I mean, Anthony Anderson's already done it. And earlier this season, we had the woman playing Tracy Ellis Ross's mother-in-law on Blackish. So who knows? There's a lot of people, sort of in that world, but like, I guess Donna Summer one season and she's already dead, which I didn't know. It was like early on when I was doing these videos, maybe season 3 or 4, but I was like, oh, I think it could be Donna Summer. And somebody commented, Donna Summer. It's not Donna Summer. She's passed on. So I forgot about that. So yeah, I mean, there's only so many left. Roberta Flack would be great. But yeah, nice that Thelma Houston was on. But all right, so next week it is Gumball versus the Goldfish, G versus G. I think, I think Gumball is going to take it. So we will find out in next week's finale. All right, thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It. We'll see you next time. Bye.